Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. Welcome to episode 86. I have Andrew Wylie here, and I'll let Andy. I'll let you talk about kind of everything leading up to where you are now. But you are the 35th District Attorney for Clinton County, and have been since 2006, right? Because you got elected in late 2005. So, Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And for anybody that does not know you, give them just a little background how you became 2020 Andrew Wylie.
All right. Wow. So I'm from Plattsburgh. Grew up here. Mom and dad. We lived up on Beekman Street, and went to St. John's. Then went to prep school in New Jersey, college at Marquette, and law school at Creighton University. Ended up coming back to Plattsburgh after graduating from law school. Worked with my dad. Started in 1988. And we had a practice together out at West Bay Plaza, and we worked together for about 18 years. Got to a point where his health was kind of declining. Our work environment was kind of changing, and I kind of made a decision that based on kind of the dynamics of what was going on in the county, the district attorney's office was something that I felt I would take a run for. And so in 2005, we put together a group of people, kind of an election team, and ran a pretty decent campaign. And obviously I was successful in winning that November 2005 election. Took office on January 1, 2006, and from there we've been working the last 15 years.
Quite a run.
Yeah, we've been. It has been quite a run. We've had a multitude of different issues that have arisen over the 15 years. Multiple cases of high priority. Of high, publicity to some extent, and I put together. I've had a major changeover in the office in the last 2 years, so we put together a really strong team now, and kind of getting through. We kind of had to get through COVID. It was a big struggle, and we could talk about that. But we're kind of, I think, balancing out right now, and we're moving forward.
So is Creighton also in Wisconsin? Or
It
is
is
that in
not.
Indiana?
No, it's actually in Nebraska. So it's
Really?
Omaha.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So if you
Marquette's Wisconsin, right?
Marquette is Wisconsin and Milwaukee. If you walked on the Marquette campus back in 1980, and then you walked onto Creighton's campus in 1984 and closed your eyes, and then opened them. It's remarkable how the two campuses were very similar, size-wise, just dormitories, gym, church. It was remarkable how close they were in similarity.
I've never been to Milwaukee. I've been to Wisconsin, been to Madison, but it's without as many mountains, but it has a very similar climate to what we have.
Exactly.
So I don't know if they got the snow. Probably, maybe not as much because of I guess the lake effect snow.
Right.
But
yeah, we cold temperatures in the winter. Snow not as much as we get here, but enough. And there's certainly, like you said, there were no mountains. I think there was one little ski village that one weekend.
The Glorified Hill.
Yeah. I mean, much bigger than Beartown, but I don't know if you're probably too young to have skied at Paleface.
No, never heard of it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like Paleface was, and so we went one weekend, and of course it was when we were in college, and of course back then, drinking age was 18.
You're in college, yeah.
We're in college,
Yeah.
and and
fun.
I kind of hate to say this because now that I have 2 kids in college, but we the group of guys that I hung with were great guys, and we actually, that weekend is kind of remarkable because I have this scar on my face that's from that weekend, and
So it's living with you still.
it's still living with me, but it's all good, you know.
So when you went to law school, I mean, did you, like, at what age did you decide I want to do law?
Right.
Because obviously having a father in the business, like, again, we both have, I guess, both our fathers are in the same field we're in. I went into college not wanting to get into real estate. It just, things happen that way. Did you have a decision like prior? Did you go in undecided? Were you focused completely on law?
So I would say when I went to Marquette, I kind of primarily went there to get away from Plattsburgh. I think it was one of the best decisions that I made as far as that goes. And I always knew that I had that, in my, let's say, in my back pocket, to potentially go to law school, come back to Plattsburgh and work for my dad. So I would say, coming into my junior year at Marquette, I kind of was looking at what my career options were based on school, and I kind of felt I was going to go down the legal road, and so I started kind of preparing myself for getting into law school and took it from there.
So what was when you came into law, you started working with your dad, you said in 84?
88.
88, okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, yeah, 88.
Yeah.
So when you came into, I guess, the business of law, what did you go into originally? Like, what was kind of your practice at the time?
Yeah. So when I was in law school, I actually interned at the U.S. Attorney's Office for a couple of years, and so I just had this desire to work in the criminal defense work, and so that's what I did. I primarily was defense attorney, handled multiple types of criminal cases, and so I built my practice on that. And with that, because not every criminal has a bank account. I did a little bit of divorce work. I did a little bit of real estate work. Totally stayed away from tax and marital. I tried to stay away from divorce cases as much as I could. It just wasn't something that really interested me. Of course, if somebody came in with a big check and wanted us to represent them, then we did it. Yeah. But it wasn't something that we actually, sought out. So but primarily, I would say 75% of my practice was criminal defense work.
So basically, you carried that out until you were elected for the DAs.
I did, yeah, right up. I mean, literally right up to the day I was elected.
So So obviously, you said, like, what made you want to go and become the district attorney? Was it just kind of the next progression up in kind of the criminal defense? Was it something you always strived to be? Was your dad a district attorney?
So my dad was the Plattsburgh City judge for about 17 years.
Okay.
And at that time, it was a part-time position. Since then, it's become a full-time position. But so, and he was the city judge while I was in high school, college, law school. So he was never a district attorney. But so what happened was, I think as time went on, I mean, as I said, I represented, simple DWIs. I represented, inmate cases. I represented a number of homicide cases. And it got to a point in the latter part of my career where I was handling a couple cases that, I just got to a point where it's like, am I still doing the right thing here? I had a client that was accused of sexually abusing a young child, his daughter, actually. And, I get to get through the case, and he was acquitted after the trial. And so, most people say that's what a defense attorney's job is, and that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, yeah, that's what your job is, right? So, but I knew the facts of the case. Mm-hmm. I knew what happened, and great result for the client, not a great result for this young kid, mm-hmm. and not a great result really for the community. Those were the types of cases that kind of started saying, am I really, I kind of was losing that fire to go into a court and defend, an individual, especially in a situation where, I knew they were guilty.
So how does that work? 'Cause that's the thing I've always wondered it's funny because one of my lingos that I use in real estate is that it's kind of like going into a courtroom. You have a buying side and a selling side. It's considered your prosecuting and defense attorney. Obviously, we're dealing with homes, totally different. You're dealing with people that have either broken the law or accused of breaking the law. How is it? I mean, obviously, if you know the person's innocent, like I'm sure that drives you. But then if you know that they're guilty, they're hiring you to prove that they're not guilty. So how does that work, or how do you handle that? Because that's always something I wondered, because obviously you would think that some attorneys know their client's guilty. There's some people that don't think they're, maybe you're just like caught in the dark and like, I really don't think he's guilty. Maybe he is, but for whatever reason, your facts don't line up. I mean, is that something that you've had? Because you must have run into that at some point, or been on the other side where they know they're guilty, but they still got to fight for the client.
So the way I would put it is that initially, and I'm not just saying this because I've been a prosecutor for 15 years, but law enforcement generally does an extremely excellent job in their investigations of cases. And they generally don't arrest people that they don't have the evidence to support the charge on. So taking that into consideration, defense attorney, and this is always my position back in the day, and it's what I try to kind of emphasize when I teach some classes, when I am providing maybe some advice to some of the younger defense attorneys in town that come and seek it from me. I don't put it on them, but if they come and seek it from me. And that's really that you have a job. You have a job to do, and your job is to obtain the best disposition you can for your client. And it's not always, going to trial and just trying to go to trial and get a not guilty verdict. A lot of times it's, evaluating the case and what can I do for my client, whether it's getting him into treatment, getting him on probation, getting the least, sentence as possible, allowable by law. So those are the types of things that I really try to emphasize with the attorneys. It's not all about wins and losses, and I have long discussions with my assistants in the office too over the years. That it's not about wins and losses. You may have to go. There may be the case where you have to go to trial, and you may lose. And if you lose, that's okay because we've done our job. Mm-hmm. As long as you're doing the right thing with the job, then that's fine. So it got to be difficult to do my job back then. I was very successful at it, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to be successful in the campaign and win the election as well.
So again, going into, and you guys must see some pretty heavy stuff, right? Obviously on both sides, like from either whether like evidence or just cases, and usually when people are in a courtroom or people are coming to see you, it's probably not the highlight of their life to come see you, for the most part. It's so. I mean, how do you deal with? Did that take some getting used to when you first got in, or was it one maybe growing up, with a dad that was, in law, that you kind of were a little more aware of, I guess, or
Right.
not as sheltered to what potentially could be out there. Because again, you're being the head guy, you see a ton of stuff.
Yeah. So it's really difficult, I think, in a small community, small county like Clinton County is, compared to, Onondaga County, Syracuse, or Albany, or New York City. The prosecutor in some of those larger communities, larger counties, is really a politician. But in these smaller counties, like up here in the North Country, DA Sprague, DA Carrero down in Warren County, Franklin County, I mean, we are actually not only the prosecutor, but we're the boss, but we're trial lawyers. We're actually doing cases. So yeah, we're seeing these cases on a daily basis. And so when you talk about, let's just say, some of the homicides I've had in the county, dealing with or some of the sexual abuse cases that we've had in the county, dealing with the family members of the victim in the case is something that's really difficult to get used to, from what I did, prior as a defense attorney. It's just a totally different experience, and was very difficult to get used to. I didn't have a major issue with kind of dealing with the media on a lot of the cases that I've had. Just having to be really walk down that right road with what I could do with a case, what we could do with the media, but more importantly, dealing with a family of a victim was really difficult to get used to. But it took some time, but now,
Well, I mean, it still must be very rewarding, though. Like you said, if you go in and depending on the deposition and depending on who you're representing, again, you deal with pretty extremes. It's not like just getting a slap on the wrist. Sometimes you might, but you could be talking someone's life is completely changed based off of a verdict. So, if you can avoid that, or you pulled it off, like, hey, they're innocent, they're found innocent. I did my work. It must be pretty cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was starting out, so I'll give you this. This is a pretty cool story. So I think so. So when I started out, I handled this sexual abuse case, and so it was my, at that time, like, biggest case. I think I'd been working maybe a year or 2 years, and I was lucky, a lot luckier than a lot of other attorneys that come into the community, because I had somebody to teach me the ropes, train me, as far as my father is concerned. A lot of lawyers come in, and it's like, I mean, it's like medical school, right? You learn everything about being a doctor, and that first time you go and you do an open heart surgery, I mean, yikes, right? I mean, it's the same thing with a trial. I mean, you learn the fundamentals in school, but then to apply them in the courtroom is a totally different story. So we do this trial, and we go through the process. It was difficult to do it, but I got through the process, and it wasn't a simple little DWI case. It was a rape case, and so put a lot of time into it, put a lot of effort. Thought I did put a really good case on for my client, and in the end, went to the jury, and the jury was out actually back in the days, back in the late 80s. The court system isn't like it is today. We were, I can recall this like it was yesterday. We're in the courtroom. I don't know when the time the jury got the case, but it was like probably mid-afternoon, after closings and instructions. And we stayed until about 1 o'clock in the morning at the courthouse, and the jury still hadn't come back. So the judge at that point in time said, all right, we're going to break for the night. You'll come back in the morning and you'll start deliberating again. So we did that. We got back at 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever it was, and they deliberated for most of the day. And probably at 4 o'clock or so the next day, they came back and they found my client guilty of, let's say 5 of the 8 charges or whatever, and the serious charges. So he's going away. He's going away for a long time. So, I get back to my office and my dad's like, well, how'd it go? And I go, well, they found him not guilty, but they found him guilty of the most serious things, and he's going to go to prison for, quite a long time. And my dad's like, well, you kept that jury out for, quite a long time thinking about the case. So you did your job, and I kind of thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I did. They didn't just come back a half hour later and slam dunk it and find him guilty. So I was kind of resolved with that, and then at some point in time I do the next trial, and jury's out for, I don't know, not as long, but they're out for a while, and they find the defendant guilty. Go back to the office, talk to my dad about it, and he's like, well, you made them think about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not into that anymore. It's like, he's got found guilty, and, that's, I'm not good with I kept him out for a while anyway. And from that day on, it was like, I was
like, you win or lose. That's like,
yeah. I win or lose. And when the jury would come back, and and I'd be standing next to the defendant, and at the time, Terry Gordon, who was the court clerk, we had a great relationship. He had a great relationship with my dad, and it would be like he would have the verdict, in an envelope, just like they do today. But back then, they kind of maybe took a look at it beforehand, and so we kind of had a thing where, like, I'd look at him and he'd look at me, and if it was not guilty, he kind of didn't do much. But if it was guilty, and my client was maybe a little concerned about it, he'd like give me this look, and I'd like take 2 steps, 2 steps away.
Just out of swinging range.
Yeah, let the court officers kind of come in, and but man, when that jury would come back and they would say not guilty,
yeah,
it was just like, boom.
Yeah.
Adrenaline
high.
Probably. Adrenaline high.
Yeah.
Adrenaline high. And it got to a point where a case that I had about a year before I ran for DA and was elected, and this one wasn't one that really bothered me. It was a drug case, and how I know how my wife and I have this thing about Disney, and so this trial was being pushed out, and so it was a drug case. They came back, the jury comes back, and the guy's found not guilty, and so, but there was another matter pending with this guy, so the judge is like, well, we have to schedule this now for, like next week. And I was like, nope, I'm going to Disney World. Just won the Super, Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl. What are you doing next? And I was like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't mean it that way. We are going to Disney World next week, but I understand how that just came out,
So did you get it resolved that day, or did you?
We dealt with it, Yeah, we dealt with it. So,
I like this. Good.
Yeah, that was good.
So, since you've taken over, just some stat wise, you said that you've grown the district attorney's office to 6 ADAs, and you're a full-time investigator. So the office has grown. Now, is part of that because of the amount of cases? Is part of that just the way that you've structured things to make it maybe a little more efficient, or more ADAs give you more resources or more knowledge or more time? Because it is the DA, because the DA is considered a public office, right?
Correct.
So, and it's run through whatever our county. But do you run it kind of like you would a business? Is it the same ideas or a little bit different? Because like if you're growing, is it because of the need? Is it because that you've grown it to a level that, I look at our business, like we bring on staff people as we grow and things are needed. And and our goal is to hopefully hire more people, because that means we're growing. Is that how you look at your office?
Well, if you look at it in that perspective, if we grow based on the business, then in that sense, that's not great for the community, because it means there's more crime. There's more crime being committed. There's more crime coming in the area, and there has been. I mean, there has been more crime since 2006. So back in 2006 when I took office, I think there were 3 full-time ADAs, 2 part-time ADAs, and then the district attorney. And so, as we kind of progressed, I was able to, have the county legislators approve full-time positions as opposed to the part-time positions, because we would just establish, the caseload for each, attorney, and there was turnover. And the reason there's turnover is because there was such a high caseload, and an individual, I guess that's working, that's on salary, that has to, that's only getting paid for, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, but is working 12 hours a day, they get burned out. And so, I was able to kind of, not convince, but just
lobby for
lobby out. Yeah, lobby is really the best word for it. And, and put forth our argument with what our caseload was to have the county, kind of establish that. And we have funding. We have certain funding streams that we've been able to establish over over my term, and utilize that money to help pay for some of the positions that we have in the office. But it's, we could certainly use more staffing, but the budget is the budget, and we have to kind of be really cognizant of our caseload, what we have, how it's dispersed between the attorneys in the office, and do it, within the budget that the county provides us. Certainly if we get to a point where we can hire more staff, we're kind of limited because of our space.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but certainly if we got to a point where, and it's occurred, it's occurred since 2020 when we had some, changes in Albany, that there certainly is more, there's a basis to have more ADAs in the office. Like if you look at the state numbers, it's kind of like 1 ADA per 10,000 people.
Okay. So you should be roughly about 8 or so?
We should be about 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be.
So, and what kind of, I guess just kind of quickly, like what kind of cases would fall under your jurisdiction? Like what do you guys deal with on a daily or yearly basis?
So probably the most common case that we have in the office is driving while intoxicated cases, petty larceny cases. Just the town of Plattsburgh, because it has the mall, because it has Walmart, Lowe's within its town jurisdiction, has just a multitude of petty larceny cases. There are more sexual abuse and rape cases that the public is really aware about, that we have in the county. The next probably largest crime that we deal with on a day in and day out basis that I primarily deal with is the drug issue that we have in the county, and we've been pretty pretty lucky to some extent that our violent crime here in the county is it's small. We've had a number of homicides during my tenure. There were 3 at the beginning. We just had 2 last year. So, it's there, but it's not as bad as obviously Syracuse, Albany.
Yeah.
The
You'd rather see petty larceny than homicide, so it's
well.
I mean, neither are good, but if you had to really pick on the hierarchy,
well, yeah. But I mean, don't take this the wrong way. I enjoy the process of a homicide.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about, back in the day when I had those, the desire to defend, an individual, and then at the end get that not guilty verdict, the energy that I got from that, I have that on a homicide case.
Do you find because these cases take months, or they take more than a year? Or they
not necessarily. They're generally dealt with within a year.
So you got to think of that's a huge project for you guys to do. Do you find at a certain point? This is what I do when I focus on stuff where you're really thinking hard about a project. Like you basically have that first layer of learning about the project, learning in your case, learning the details. And then it's starting to go layers deep and then really trying to formulate your case until at the very end, you're like, listen, we're so prepped and prepared on this that we're just we know this backwards and forwards. Do you find that in that process, you hit that moment where you're like, we got it? It's very clear, or it becomes into where it just seems like all the different directions and all the different facts are all starting to kind of tangle together, and then you're really trying to find this. You're really getting this clear picture of what's happening.
Yeah, especially with a homicide investigation, it's just because of the volume of it, and kind of the magnitude of not only the evidence that's involved, but the responsibility I talked about earlier about the family, the victims, and what we need to do for the community. So we've had, homicides here in the city, one right outside your window a few years ago. We've had, some major homicides throughout the county, and working with the New York State Police, their violent crimes unit, working with the Plattsburgh City Police Department with their detectives, the extent of initial labor that's done is just, it's overwhelming. And so you get to that point where, you put that initial investigation together, and it's not something that happens in a week. It takes weeks to develop it. Whether you're subpoenaing phone records, you're doing GPS warrants on vehicles that are potentially known to be involved in a crime. You're waiting for the lab in Albany to come back with a DNA report. All this takes time, and so when it is put together, and when you are working with these investigators or detectives, and you do get to that point where it's because you focus so much on it, right? Like when I have a homicide case in the office, it's pretty much that's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I'll be dealing with the day in and day out operations of the office, but as far as the case goes, that's my baby, and I'm going to make sure that we're prepared when the day for trial comes, or any hearings that we have, that we're ready to go forward with it.
So when you become, if you're in a position that you are, do you find, and I was kind of doing some research, I think I read an article where you mentioned self-awareness and knowing kind of yourself and kind of having a good idea how you think and how you react and how you process information. Do you find that you're able to take a step back and really dissect everything kind of from a high up view and really try to pinpoint everything, or do you find that that you get really directly involved, or do you think that you can step back and look at all the pieces? And I think you got to have a layer of both. But when you're dealing with such big cases, do you find that understanding yourself and your personality and your habits or tendencies or even past experiences, do you tap into a lot of those?
Yeah, I definitely tap into a lot of the past experiences, not only experiences that I've dealt with prior cases as a prosecutor, but even as a defense attorney. And I think that plays a big role in some of the cases because it allows me to, be that devil's advocate, with a lot of my witnesses, the law enforcement people that are involved in the case. It's like, okay, you've developed this theory, but let's look at it. Let's look at it in another light. And if I'm the defense attorney, this is where I'm going to go with this case. And then so we backtrack, and we'll then take a look at maybe that secondary theory, and just cover our bases to make sure that that's not going to be something that's going to come out in the trial. It's a huge focus. I mean, but I've had really good people working with me on it, people in the office, but law enforcement. You get people like retired senior investigator John Donahue, who's the head of the violent crimes unit with the state police here in Troop B. Just an incredible investigator. Very knowledgeable about putting together the case file, having that prepared for us. When I get literally 10 boxes of file boxes with individual files alphabetized and categorized from him, it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the people that he's left with the New York State Police, or the people that he's impacted in the city police department or the sheriff's department, have all greatly learned from him as a huge resource. I'm not here to plug in John, but I mean he's the man.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's more than, like you said, a couple like your office. You got to, there's a lot involved. So I guess for you, kind of getting a little bit away from law, you do quite a bit. Obviously, I know that you and your wife, you guys, are running the workout stuff and Beachbody, and you've been doing that for, how long has that been going on?
That's been going on since March of 2014.
Okay, so it's been quite a while.
6 years.
And is your wife the one that kind of spearheads that? Or you guys think you're pretty balanced?
Yeah.
Or are you just kind of like her guinea pig and you kind of go along and try to survive?
So,
because overall you're in pretty good shape, right? So are you better shape now than you've been? Trying to keep that up?
I'm trying to keep it up. I'm not as in good of shape as I was, let's say, in 2015, 16.
Yeah.
Man, I love pizza and I love ice cream.
Yeah.
All right. But and I'm getting older, and I have, bumps and bruises. I don't know. I got something going on with my shoulder. But yeah, like 2000, I mean, I'll give you the 2014, I'm sitting on the couch. We're watching Sunday, it's football games on. And she's in the kitchen cooking something. I don't know what she's making. And she has on, she's just, flipping through the channels, and she gets on this one channel that there's this guy that's doing this workout, and they talk about, workout at home and, this insanity thing. And Natalie's like, yeah, we should, we should kind of do this. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm probably, 200 pounds, the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I ski, I run around with the kids playing soccer. I'm good. I'm good. And she's like, no, we really should probably do this. And it'd be good for us. And whatever, if you want to order it, And so she orders it. And so we it comes in the mail, it comes in the mail because back then it's all DVDs, and so it's this program called T25, and it's with Sean T, the creator of Insanity, and I'm sure you're
I
well
know, I'm aware of him. Yeah. Yep.
So anyways, we kind of, it's what is it, a 90-day program. I don't know, 25 minutes a day. And we start doing it. And, it's getting us up in the morning. It's getting us to doing something together. Like we skied for quite a bit together when the kids were really young. And then once they kind of got older, we kind of got away from skiing together. Natalie kind of lost her interest in skiing or snowboarding. So anyways, we do this, and by golly, it's, I start losing a little weight.
Yeah.
And then, and at the end of
we're at a train. I always tell people we're actually at a train station.
Yeah, we are.
It's probably
at
like
a train station.
30 feet away from us. So.
Yeah. And so, at the end of every workout, there's this, plug for a nutrition shake, whatever, Shakeology, and so we're like, maybe we should try that. It looks like everybody in the videos are doing it. So we order that, and then so Natalie calls up or gets a call from this lady in Texas, and she calls her back, and the lady's like, well, I'm at Disney right now, and I'm running a half marathon. Let me call you when I finish the race and later on today. So they talk, and she orders it, and then we start using that, and I'm like losing weight and feeling a lot better than I ever had in a long time. And so then this lady is calls Natalie, and she starts talking to her, and she's like, well, if you're ordering all this product, then you should probably become a Beachbody coach. And Natalie's like, I don't want to do that. I just want to, order the product and do what we're doing. So the lady's like, well, you can just become a coach, and you can earn money on if Andrew does something, or because I think somebody, Natalie started getting involved with social media, and I don't know how long social media has been really around for, but I never.
Yeah, it's probably right about then. 13 was kind of what.
Yeah, I mean, I never was on social media before this, and so, somebody's like, oh, you're losing weight, you're getting in shape. What are you doing, right? Yeah. And so it's like, well, let me send you to Cody. And so Natalie did that like twice, and Cody's like, well, why don't you just become a coach, and you'll make you'll make income from this. And so she started doing it, and and so then we kind of got involved with Beachbody, and actually Cody and her husband Chris are like one of our best friends now.
And those are the people you were originally working under or with or whatever.
Yeah, they were our, as you say, upline.
Or mentors,
right?
Whatever.
Yeah,
yep.
Mentors in the business and upline.
Yeah.
And so Natalie's business kind of really took off. Yeah. And she developed probably first real, team here in Plattsburgh.
Like network of people.
Yeah, network of people in Plattsburgh under Beachbody.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And it grew pretty big, and
well,
so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I like working out. I've been working out pretty consistently I'm at like a little funk right now, but it's it is, goes in waves. Yeah. But for the most part, been pretty active my whole life. I mean, you said the same thing. Like obviously you ski, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's one thing I always see on social media. That I think last year you took a cool trip out west, and the mountains looked pretty nice. Where was it?
Revelstoke in British Columbia.
You went up BC? Okay.
Yeah, just incredible mountain, largest vertical in North America, and took a while to get there. We flew into Calgary. I went with John Mulholland.
Cool.
You know John.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. John was actually on here.
Yeah. So John and I flew out to Calgary, and then it's like a 4.5 hour drive to Revelstoke, and it's just this badass deep powder mountain. Small, but I mean small in the sense of the town is small. The mountain is I mean, the mountain is huge, but minimal lifts,
Yeah.
and it's just it's a real skier's mountain.
So, how long have you been skiing? Like in most of your life?
I've been skiing all my life. Yeah.
And is that still one of your favorite hobbies?
It is right now my primary hobby.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, if it snowed a foot tomorrow, I'd be happier than a pig in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pig and snow, right?
Yeah, pig and snow. I mean, it used to be golf.
Yeah.
I used to love playing golf,
Yep.
and not that I don't love playing golf now. I do, but I don't make the time for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, skiing is my go-to thing right now.
I think we're very similar. I played a lot of golf as a kid, and I didn't ski, and now I'm trying to play more golf. So I'm trying to split it. That's going to be my summer hobby. My winter hobby, last year was the first year I bought skis, and I bought it at the start of the season. I probably went maybe 8 times last year to 10 times, which was my max I've ever gone. I'm not good by any means, but it was my first time going to Whiteface and really kind of skiing there, and I'm getting better. But, I have about a year, so I'm really looking forward to I got to pass this coming year. So I'm looking forward to actually going up and trying to get better at skiing because my technique is not, I can get down the mountain, but someone that's very accomplished or has been doing it for years and years, they just move differently than I move.
Right.
So I'm sure you don't worry about, like, my thing is from going top to bottom, I want to get down without falling or being injured. Where you're going down, you're like, I'm not going to fall. It's just like, I'm just going to enjoy the nice part of the ski. And,
Right.
You're not worried about going fast or going down verticals. So I'm getting over that and getting more comfortable, but it's like, to me, it's the technique aspect. But you go to Whiteface a lot. Is that your main mountain?
It is. Yeah, I'll go to Whiteface as often as my job allows me to.
Yeah.
And because, I've been in this job for 15 years, especially last year. We get a POW day, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm up at 5 o'clock. I'm like,
You hitting the first
amped.
chair?
Well, we try to.
Yeah.
I'm amped the night before.
Yep.
And off we go. I have a group of guys that I ski with. I still snowboard a little bit. I'll snowboard more in the beginning of the season when the snow is just kind of really developing. But once we kind of get into the season, I just go to my skis and I'm skiing the rest of the year.
Do you think you never lose the giddiness though to go skiing, right? Like you said, you get amped the night before and you're all excited.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, I used to get that golfing. I still do if I know I'm getting up and playing golf in the morning with some buddies. But the ski day is the same thing. I'm not a great skier, but we try to go. We were going every other Wednesday morning consistently. Me and a couple guys. Like we'd cut out, hit the first lift, be back. Usually we were back in the office no later than 11:30 or 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get excited. You get excited to go, and then when, of course, my thing is when I get done after like 2 hours of skiing in the morning, you get probably 5-6 good runs in. You leave and you're like so excited for the rest of the day. You get a little bit of adrenaline rush early in the morning, and especially if I experience what they call them, bluebird days, when it's just clear as can be.
Yeah.
And we had one of those at Whiteface, and that was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life, just because it was so pretty out there.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't skied a lot, so for you, that's probably like a couple times a year you see that.
Well, yeah, because I try to get up there as much as I can. We do see it a lot, and when you are standing on the top of chair 6, and you're looking, whether you're looking over Little Whiteface, and you see that kind of expansive, just forever view on a bluebird day, or you're on the top of Little Whiteface and you're looking at Lake Placid. It's and from where we both grew up here, right?
Yeah.
So people don't appreciate to some extent of where we live, and those days are just they're wonderful.
Yeah,
they're great.
So are you one of those guys, if you like you like bomb down skyward? Like, I'm just saying, like, what kind? Like, you're very confident when you.
I will say that because I've had a hearing issue for quite a while. It affects my equilibrium, and so with that, I have kind of a somewhat of a fear of heights issue. So there are certain times where I'm like, not so much at Whiteface, but like, let's just say at Revelstoke, right? When when we were there, there's this one part of the mountain where, in order to get up to the top backside cliffs, and then where we were weren't cliffs, but you have to climb, and so we had to climb probably, I don't know what it was. It was probably 500 yards, maybe more, and it was pretty steep. The pitch is pretty steep, and that just kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, threw you off a bit.
Yeah, it really freaked me out getting up there on that elevation, but it's just a matter of like, that getting that adrenaline going, stepping into the skis, and then like you can't wait. You can't be sitting there at the top.
Oh yeah,
and
you gotta commit.
Thinking about it. It's just like, yeah, commit, go, and once you're gone, it's paradise. It's beautiful.
So you just find that, skiing, I'm still very new to this, but skiing is something you can do very late into life, because I've seen some people up there that I'm like, man, they're doing well on this mountain. And again, I hope to get to that point, and I will over time. I'll get used to it, but it's a fun, man. It especially passes the winter by.
Yeah. So if you're, that's a huge thing, right? Here where we are, you gotta find your outlets, and that's certainly during the winter. That's my outlet. Yeah. And during the summer, when I'm doing it, golf is my outlet. I do a little bit of mountain biking now, but I'm not that great at it. But that's kind of something that I've been doing the last couple of years. But that kind of brings in that whole aspect of, the downhill skiing and what you get from that too.
So you like being outside. You're an outside guy.
I love being outside. Yeah.
Now, the other thing, are you still involved with PFC?
I am. Yeah.
So I guess kind of explain that for people that don't know what it is.
Sure. So Plattsburgh Football Club, PFC, actually started in 2003 as Plattsburgh United, and then there's always a story, right? Yeah. So my son Alexander was 5, I think, and so he's trying to figure out something for him to do in the fall, and so I'm like, I'll enroll him in this Plattsburgh youth soccer program that's going on in the city out at the Oval. So I wasn't a soccer player. I wasn't born in Shazy, and
I was thinking
in my
that you
crib,
were, yeah.
No, and in my crib, I had a soccer ball and I had a hockey puck, right? Those are your two gifts that you get when you're born in Shazy, right? So, I played football. I wasn't very good at it. I was a small, little small thing in high school, but I played football, and that obviously is a big thing in my life too. But so I put Alexander in this program, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Well, we need somebody to coach a team." And I'm like, I don't know anything about soccer. He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just, the kids are 5 years old. You got to make sure that they're not picking dandelions, and they, try to get them not to be scrumming around the ball where they're, everybody's running up and down." I'm like, okay, whatever, So, so I do that, and he's, I can just remember back on that. It was like Alexander, Shea Brannon, and one of the Foster kids, I think, and I just trying to think back who was on that initial team, and so that went on for a year, and then I was good friends with Pat Kelleher. I remember the name. Teacher.
Yep.
All right, not the football coach at Peru, PHS, and
I know you're talking. Okay. He has a son, right, that played soccer.
Ian.
Yes.
Yeah. You probably played against Ian, right?
Yep.
So, so we kind of like the next year we're kind of involved in it, and so Alexander's enjoying playing soccer, and so we get him into this program that I think where we started at Pat started it at the base gym, the indoor program, and then it eventually moved to the Crate Center, put the boards up, the hockey rink boards up, and so I kind of got involved with that, and then when Alexander was like 10, I think, he went over and played for Nordic. And so we're driving over, I don't know if you played for Nordic or
No, but I know the team in
Gina,
Vermont.
if Gina did, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Gina. She
I'm not
probably
sure.
coached against them eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, so we, we're going over practices, Tuesday, Thursday, games on the weekends, the indoor program. And I'm like spending a lot of time, spending a lot of money, but, I'm also now involved with Plattsburgh youth soccer. And it's like after 3 years, they're like, oh, you're going to be president. I'm like, I don't want to be president. They're like, oh, you're going to be president. I'm like, whatever.
Voluntold.
Yeah, exactly. So I took that over. And so now we're developing, and we're having all these, developing the leagues in Plattsburgh for the youth kids, tournament we're having here. Kind of it's growing. And I'm like seeing all these kids that are playing, and they're like, we got some relatively talented kids in the area. So at that time, I put together a U12 boys team. And so we started doing some traveling around, just to, like a little tournament in Albany, a little something in Burlington, and we were doing okay. And I thought, oh, we're not bad. So I got this notice of a tournament up in Montreal, and so we're like, oh, we're gonna go to Montreal and we're gonna play. And we had Alicia, not only the boys that were on the team, but it wasn't co-ed. It was like this was an all boys like U12 team. For the tournament, but we had Alicia Stanton and what was the other girl's name? Kelly.
She was a player.
Yeah, player. So
Yeah, I'm not sure.
so they were like probably the two of the most talented kids at the time that were around here for the girls, and at least that I was aware of. I'm sure Shazy had their, very talented players, right? So, anyways, so we go up to Montreal, and the first day we're there, this team we're playing is like from Toronto. It's a big tournament.
Yeah.
But we didn't know anything, right? We're like the Bad News Bears. I mean, we got these, kind of nice uniforms on.
So you're like Burt Reynolds, right?
Yeah. But this team shows up in like a coach bus. They all get off of the bus. They all have on the jackets. They have on the matching, pants. They got the backpacks. And I'm like, wow, what did we get ourselves into? And that tournament was like, what do you call it? Like
eye-opening?
Well, it was an eye opener,
Oh, yeah.
because they had, like if you get down by 6 goals.
Oh, mercy rule.
You're
Yeah.
done,
Yep.
right? First half, first game, mercy rule. We're done. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that was crazy, And so the second game that we played, team didn't get off the bus, but they were pretty good, and I think we got mercy ruled in like the second half of the game. So the next day, Sunday, we go back up for our third game, and actually, I moved some players around. I moved Kelly and Alicia around, and we ended up winning the third game. So it was a big improvement, and but whatever, So we get back to Plattsburgh, and we're kind of like, wow, that was an eye opener, and so the next year we kind of developed more of a. I think at that time I was talking with like Chris Waterbury, Jeff Spear. Their kids were all interested in participating, so we kind of developed like a boys side. So we were like a boys side for 2 or 3 years, and then of course those boys had siblings, and the parents wanted something for their girls. And at that time, United Soccer.
I remember like it was like the light blue team.
Yeah,
Yep.
United Soccer. Keith Raines was. Running that, and like Tom Renee and Scott Carpenter, they were involved. Their girls were involved in that, and it got to a point where about 2 years later, we just took over United Soccer. They joined PFC. We changed from Plattsburgh United to Plattsburgh Football Club, and so it's kind of developed, from there. And we're still going pretty strong, and it's been a good run.
And are you coaching at all at PHS anymore?
No.
Did you do that? Because you and I coached 1 year, 2 years against each other.
Probably 2 years. Yeah, probably 2 years.
Yeah.
So I did modified. Kind of all flowed with Henry. I did modified when Henry was in 7th and 8th grade. Then when he went to 9th grade, I moved up to JV.
Yep.
And so I coached JV for two or 3 years. And then I just, issues,
Yeah.
right? Philosophy. And then there was the pizza incident, So I kind of said enough's enough, and I'm out.
So because I coached, I think it was about 6 years on JV
Yeah.
soccer, but so I the other question I want to ask you, because
Don't you want to know about the pizza incident?
I don't know. Can you say it? I don't know what the
I
pizza
can say the pizza
I don't know
incident.
what it
Yeah,
is.
for sure. So, Randy Lozier and I are good friends.
Yeah,
right.
great guy.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, great guy. I mean, incredible guy,
Yes.
right? And so, Randy was coaching JV Beekmantown
Okay.
team.
Yeah. Yep.
And so this was, so we had a home game. Beekmantown was coming to play us. And, I just give Randy, I just give it to him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know how
He can
loud
take
he
it.
is,
He can
right?
take it. Oh, yeah.
He can take it and he can give it,
oh,
right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and we all know his love for pizza and bacon. So, I ordered a couple pizzas from Domino's. And I said, during the game, pretty much this is going to be halftime. You're going to bring and deliver the pizzas to Randy during the game. And I didn't tell anybody about it. So, Domino's guy comes, he's walking across the field at Plattsburgh on the grass field, walks around the bench. My kids are all looking like, what's going on? And he walks over to Randy, gives Randy the pizzas. And, he just looks at me, and it was like hysterical. I mean, it was, and then they had pizza to eat, like after the game or whatever. But some parents thought it wasn't kosher, so I kind of got in trouble.
Did Randy like it?
Oh, I loved it.
I was gonna.
Loved it. I mean, I had to send a letter of apology to the Beekmantown, district
God.
and to Randy and
Yeah. Well, I actually think that's funny. Knowing Randy, that Randy can. I'm sure Randy started eating it in the second half, and
he
no,
did.
no
Yeah.
qualms about it. So that's great.
Yeah.
So so I guess what I wanted to ask you is, how do you balance everything you do in a day? Because people are busy. I mean, but like I look at you. Obviously, you have a very you have your professional career.
Right.
I know, even though if you're not, Natalie's running the Beachbody stuff, but you're still finding time to work out. You have, I have my third kid on the way. You have 5 kids.
right.
And then obviously trying to still be a human and have your hobbies. And then, I kind of look at all the stuff that you do is like, how do you find the time? Are you very good at time management? Do you find that, it comes easy to you? Do you find that you don't sleep? Like what's your secret?
So I don't sleep.
Okay.
That's my secret.
There you go.
It's real difficult. We're up at like today we're up at 4:45, and part of that is because Natalie has to get to school for 7:15 or whatever. So we're up early. We work out pretty much every morning, except maybe Sundays. And so yeah, it's time management. And it's planning, and it's kind of working together. As far as right now, it's not so bad because Henry and Jack are both at college. Henry's at.
Are those your oldest?
They are,
Okay.
yeah. So Alexander's in California. He's, living his life out in California, doing his thing there, enjoying his life. Just got engaged actually
Cool.
last week, I think. Yeah, last week, and so they'll be probably getting married. Well, not probably. They'll be getting married next summer in Chicago. Yeah, that's really cool. And so Henry's at Elmira, Jack's at High Point University down in North Carolina.
Okay.
And so it's just Peter and Isabel at home. And, Peter's 17. He has his license. He can
Yeah.
drive.
Yep.
So he can get Isabel to school right now, even though we're under COVID.
How old's Isabel?
So Isabel's 15, sophomore, and Peter's a junior.
So you had what's the range from oldest to youngest? 15 to mid 20s?
Well, Henry's 20. So, I mean, Natalie and I kind of, like you and Gina, kind of are...
Oh, so he's your oldest, is Henry?
Well, with Natalie, yeah.
Okay.
So Alexander's 29.
Okay.
And so...
so you get them all in and
so
out the door.
The four came real quickly, you know, from 2000, September 11th, 2000, and then Isabel was born in 2005. So
yeah. So how was that? Because again, I'm asking just purely as I have it coming. I mean, I have two young kids now, but we're gonna have three. Crew's gonna turn 3 years old like 2 weeks before the due date of this one.
Okay.
So we're gonna have about three in roughly 3 years.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'm seeing the craziness in 2, so 3 is just gonna be buckle up.
Well, yeah.
Because this was right before. Because when you said 2000 to 2005, and then you ran for DA, so you're kind of you had a little bit of crazy in yourself there, having 4 young kids.
Yeah. So in the summer of 2005, when I was campaigning and running, like, Isabel was born on July 6th, so that back in 2005, parades were like the political campaign parade, getting involved in those
right in the season.
Were huge, and a lot bigger then than they are now. And that Natalie was, obviously she was 3 days from being, delivering. I think we did I think the city July 4th parade was on maybe the 3rd, maybe it was the 4th, whatever. And then Rouse's Point was the next day. Yep. So, however that worked out day-wise, but Natalie is literally ready to pop with Isabel. And so, I just can remember coming down, Cornelia Street. Back then the parade started at, Hawkins Hall at the college, came down Cornelia Street, and then made the right-hand turn on Margaret. Yep. All right. And so we're in a float pickup truck with whatever else. And, what did I have then? I had soccer balls, of course. Yeah. With, Wylie for DA or whatever. And when we came down Cornelia Street and made that turn, the crowd was just, it was like July 4th, at night when you see all the people down for the fireworks. Just crazy. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, those were big events.
Huge. And then the Rouse's Point one the next day, we're up there doing the same thing. She's kind of sitting in a lawn chair.
Oh, she's with you.
Oh, she went. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's sitting in the back of the pickup truck in a chair, throwing candy, throwing the soccer balls out. And that parade is, it's a long parade, right? It goes from the Civic Center through the backside of the town and then back up through town. And that crowd is just really crazy because there's a lot of alcohol being consumed.
It's a full day's work of drinking.
Oh yeah. And all the yelling, the cheering, maybe they're cheering for you, maybe they're not, but anyways. So we had those 4 kids like bang bang bang, and it was kind of like Natalie wanted that girl. So
I was going to say that she's got to be a tough little girl then, or now I say little, but now young lady just because of having older brothers.
Oh yeah. So I think that's been good for her. Yeah. But it was hard. Back then where you have one kid on one arm, you either have another kid in a carrier or another arm. You're changing diapers all day long. Yeah. We had a kid in diapers for probably 6 years or something. I don't know. And that's where you're at.
We're right
now.
there.
Yeah. But the closeness of them is great. They're going to grow up together. Mm-hmm. It's awesome for them. I can tell you, and I'm going through it right now, the only thing that's going to be bad about it is
they all leave.
Well, they all leave at the same time, but they also all go to college at the same time. Yeah. And college ain't cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah, but you and Gina will just a point in time when I mean, this is precious times,
Yeah.
with the kids, and like when you see your youngest is Crew, right?
No, Oakland. So Crew's our oldest, actually. He's
right.
about 2.5 now.
Yeah, so he's the oldest, right?
Yep.
So just seeing like him develop, seeing him, the things that he's learning and doing each day, and I mean, eventually you're going to get to that kindergarten, part where it's like, you let him go and
let him fly a bit.
Yeah, it's just a great time, and you're like, but then you get them when they're teenagers, and that's that's a whole different world.
Yeah, you earn your parenting stripes at that point. I think
a whole different world.
We're I was actually just thinking yesterday with Crew, we was kind of hanging out, and we were at Gina's parents' house, and her mom made a comment of like, so when would he be playing soccer? And of course he's a 2.5, so really next fall he'd probably be playing some type of mini mite. So we'll get him in, and I think he's already taken to kicking and dribbling and stuff like that. So I think by default, I've already come to terms I'm probably gonna be the worst athlete in my family, which I'll be fine with because Gina was a way better athlete than I was. But so a couple things I want to get to before we I want to talk. Number one, I meant to talk about this earlier and I kind of skipped by it, but the whole prison break situation. I mean, now we're 5 years removed from this, that was, I mean, for you, that was unprecedented for our area because just of the national media of how hard of a case was that, I guess, in the general scheme of everything? And then how was it layering in the national media and then layering in, obviously, the other thing I want to mention too is I was kind of disappointed that the whole Ben Stiller movie, there wasn't an Andrew Wylie in there. I was really hoping that there was going to either you made a cameo or they had like I was hoping like Johnny Depp comes in and plays you, or we get some big A-list star here,
right?
But,
yeah.
So I guess how's that whole experience for you?
So let's just talk about the actual process first.
Yeah.
So once again, everything kind of intertwines with each other, right? So I'm over at the Essex Tree Farm. It's a Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm coaching.
Yep.
I got one of my teams that's playing. And so I get a call, and it's the captain from the state police, Bob LaFountain, and he's like, we got a situation here in Plattsburgh. And I go, what's up? And he's like, two guys apparently have escaped from Dannemora. And I'm like, no, what's going on?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we have two guys missing at Clinton, and both of them are violent, felons. And so I'm like, okay, I'll, get in the car and come on over. I found a parent to finish the game for me, and off I went. I can remember somebody saying that, they saw the black Tahoe pulling out of the tree farm with dust, flying, and I was like, yeah, that's what happened. So, right away it was kind of like, nothing of that nature had ever happened up here before, right?
Yeah.
So, I get home and I pull into my house, and there's TV cameras out in front of my house.
Wow.
And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, well, we're here to talk to you about the prison escape. And I'm like, I just got back from Vermont. I'm changing my clothes and I'm going up to Dannemora. And, I can talk to you later. So, we get up there, and we get up to the facility, and, at that point in time, the state police are involved. The sheriff's department, obviously, corrections is involved. Now federal agencies are getting involved, and of course the governor is flying in later that afternoon, and so we have the initial meetings and kind of information of what's happening and what's being developed, and then of course, everything starts moving forward. And so yeah, it was kind of surreal with the national media just obviously that it was an escape, and the kind of development of the search process took place, and that was the initial couple days, and then once the investigation started developing as far as who was involved, that's when the national media really got involved.
Yeah.
When the
Kind
sexiness,
of the tabloid part.
the
Yep.
sexiness of the case got involved, and that's when everything kind of blew up. And I had never experienced anything like that. At that point in time, it's I had ABC, CBS, everybody,
CNN,
is out
Fox,
in front of
my
out in front of my home, out in front of my office, calling the office. Natalie was like, Natalie would be like talking with some of these people. She goes, so, what are we gonna, you got some swag for us? You got a coffee cup, you got a T-shirt. If you want an interview with them, then you
gotta pay. Yeah,
you got to bring some swag into this. And she kind of got, because the phone was ringing off the hook. At the house. So, it was just it got to be a situation where the actual, as things developed, identifying the individuals involved. Obviously, the main concern was getting Matt and Sweat off the street, and 20 some odd days later, eventually that happened. But the actual prosecution of the case in and of itself wasn't
pretty straightforward.
It was very straightforward and wasn't a big. If the national media wasn't involved, not sure that I would have even been handling it. Probably one of my ADAs would have been handling it. But,
just because of the magnitude of the
yeah.
So in regards to, I guess being a pretty big figure within the or I guess someone that you would when we turn on like you turn on the national news and you see you speaking, it's kind of surreal. But so again, just kind of, I know this is more of kind of the fun part of it, but like they came and did the whole mini series and the movie and stuff like that, and I've seen a photo of you towering over Ben Stiller because he's not that big of a guy.
At the manhole.
At the manhole. So but like, I mean, did you have any involvement in the movie process, or was it just more of like, hey, I can, because you wanted to maybe pick your brain on some stuff or get some somewhat accurate information?
Yeah, so I didn't really deal with Ben Stiller that much. Actually, that first that picture was one of the first days. Actually, probably the first day that he was here. He called, or his staff called, and wanted to sit down and have a conversation about my involvement, about maybe collecting some documents from the case, photographs, not only probably from the facility, but like some of the evidence that was secured and collected, like the pictures, that Sweat and Matt had drawn up that the correction officer had, But so I was like, yeah, well, I go, you want to see the manhole? And it's like, yeah, you can show that to me? I go, well, yeah, it's out, it's in the middle of the street, but I can show you where it is, right? So I, at that time, during that whole process, Damian Battinelli was, taking a lot of photographs, right? And he was taking a lot of photographs of me at different times. So I'm like,
snap one.
You want to come? And he's like, well, yeah, sure, I'd love to come, So we met him up in Denimora, brought him to the manhole, and and I think Damien was like, I don't know if I was, or Damien's like, let's grab a picture here. And he's like, well, I really want this to kind of be, low key, it's it's just kind of the initial stages, not sure what's going on.
Ben said that, or you?
Ben.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, we're just gonna, let's just get a picture. So I got a picture of, Damien got a picture of, as you said, Stiller, his agent or his director, and myself. And so this, where the manhole is, it's right outside of the gym, or that gym that was in Denimora. in the Village.
Okay.
There's a
yes, I don't know the exact like crossroads of what street it's on, but
but there's a fitness center there.
yeah, yep.
And so the as we're out there taking the picture, this car pulls up to the gym, and so two girls get out, and probably a dad. It looked like, and so I kind of look over, and the dad I recognize, and he's kind of like looking like all, I think he's a CO, but he's like, oh, what are you doing, showing Ben Stiller, bringing Ben Stiller here, and I'm like, whatever,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden his daughter goes, Dad, that's Ben, or actually he didn't know who it was, right? So he's like, Dad, that's Ben Stiller. And then the other girl's like, yeah, hey, Mr. Stiller, can we get a picture? And this is the low key, right? And of course, he said, okay, I'll do the picture, and then 5 minutes, it's boom on social media.
Yeah,
it's all over.
Teenage girls are on.
Yeah,
something's going up.
Yeah, so it was all done there. So but that was basically my involvement, and I really had no, I had done so many interviews, through the whole process, and my part, I always felt my part was a small piece to it, but I also felt that because, hey, you know what? This is my county, right? These are the people that have put me into office, and I kind of have a responsibility to them to let them be aware of what's going on. And I was kind of that cognizant, that cog to kind of let people know, what was going on. Never divulged any information that was
sensitive.
Yeah, it was sensitive issues, but also people needed to know what was going on, and so I was kind of that voice to do that. And but when it was all done and said and done, I was like, I have other things to do.
Yeah.
My interest isn't appearing on the on the big screen with Ben Stiller. So I never really, everybody was always like, oh, who's going to play you in the movie? And I'm like, I don't think anybody is, to be honest with you. Like, what do you mean? How are you not going to be in the movie? And I'm like, well, because,
I could have been your debut.
So it was like, I was just like, that's just part of life,
Yeah.
And I think a month ago, it was not a month ago, but May, I think, 5-year anniversary. Some news agencies are calling me up, and I'm like, why do you want to do another story on this? It's like, it's done. It's over. She's out, and they're like, well, it's the 5-year anniversary. And I'm like, oh, okay, then, I don't know, how much time do you think it's going to take? And they're like, well, a couple hours. I go, well, then let's talk numbers. I was like, if you want me to do this and take my time, then let's talk numbers.
Yeah.
And like, well, we don't do that. And I go, well, then I have work that I have to do.
Yeah.
So thanks for calling,
Last few questions for you. Since being in the office, you've been doing the math correctly. We're about 14, 15 years right now. No, I probably did the math terrible. No, 14
it's
years.
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, I'm in my 15th year.
Okay, 15th year. So in that time, what is your proudest accomplishment? Like, what do you think if you that's really stuck out to you over those times? I'm sure there's a ton, but like, what's your overall theme of, I guess those 15 years, and then tie into what is your hope going into the future? Like, much longer do you want to do it? What do you hope to still accomplish? Why you're in that position,
right.
Or do you want to go in another position, or do you want to ride off into the sunset and just hang out and ski all day?
Yeah,
that's probably the answer.
That is definitely what I want to do, and I want to do it certainly, when I'm able, able to really enjoy it. But in order to do that, I need to, take care of other things first. So I think some of our greatest accomplishments as far as being on the job are, one's the creation of our Child Advocacy Center that we have here in the county. It's also It's kind of like it involves Essex County, Franklin County, and then the Mohawk tribal contingency up in Franklin County. And so I think we provided a great service for our kids in the area that have been subject to, some form of child abuse or physical abuse or sexual abuse by generally by a family member. But so that center has kind of allowed us to have, development of an investigation, all kind of in one medical component, investigation component, trial preparation. So that's been a big highlight. Then obviously, the handling of the serious violent felonies, the homicides that we've had, being able to, put those cases together, have successful prosecutions. I've never really been about what the end number is, what the sentence is on somebody. I tend to leave, for the most part, that to the court system. But we've been very successful with those cases. We've been very successful working with the victims, and the family members. Kind of a major disappointment on like the day that I was sworn in. There was a double homicide back in 2005 Christmas. The Donovans, David and Lorraine, and up at the Wood Grain. And so the defendant who was arrested, charged, and then eventually convicted, Ed Dashnell, we had a 3-month trial. It was the longest trial that had ever occurred in Clinton County before. And the reason it was so long is there's so many dynamics of the case. It was then more than just the homicide. And then the appellate division came back after that verdict and made a ruling on a statement that was used during the trial, which probably never needed to have to use it, but it was done. And the appellate division came back and overturned the conviction, and we had to retry the case a second time. And so having to deal with the Donovan family, who we kind of really became really close, tight-knit with during that first proceeding, advising them that hey, we got to do this all over again, was pretty dramatic at the time. Obviously, we tried the case again. It only took about, I think, 3 weeks the second time, and obviously ended up with a conviction on it. But those are some of the big highlights, I think. Also, getting really behind the narcotic and substance abuse programs that we've had here, our drug court programs, the Spark program that we have in the county for developing alternative, measures with cases of individuals that suffer from drug addiction, overdose. We've had, a terrible impact of heroin overdoses here in Plattsburgh, and we continue to, fight that battle day in and day out. When I think one of the things that kind of really sparked that issue for me was when Alexander's best friend a number of years ago overdosed. And he came back from California and gave the eulogy at Kyle's funeral. Was pretty traumatic for everybody, but for our family and for the Kirby family. And we, from that kind of moment on, I was like, we really got to do something here in this county. We're losing too many young kids, and we had been and continue to do so. So, we fight that battle, and then we get some of these individuals into the court system, and the court system sometimes has a different perspective, of how to handle the cases, whether it's, putting them into a drug court program, minimizing sentences, it's a different world. It's a different world here in Clinton County than it is in, let's say, New York City or one of the bigger counties with the drug trafficking and how we kind of handle those here. We handle them a lot differently. A case that comes into Plattsburgh that maybe there's a couple drug sales, in New York City is sometimes just disposed of as a misdemeanor and a fine. Mm-hmm. Here in Clinton County, because of the impact, we handle it differently. Felony convictions, and depending on the nature of the background of it, drug treatment or state prison. So it's a different world. I will often say to a defendant that comes up here and does that, you try to use the, analogy that you're not in Kansas anymore. It's a different world up here, and we look at it differently. We treat it differently. We're smaller. We can handle those cases differently on that end, and we've done a good job with it, and I sometimes get a little frustrated with the court system on how they handle some of the cases, but, I'll do my job. Mm-hmm. We get it to that point, and I think we've done what we're supposed to do. So, but on that end, you have, the last year with bail reform, with changes in the discovery rules that we have. It's been quite a change of times with being a prosecutor. So it's very frustrating sometimes. I know my staff gets very frustrated with all the work that we have to do now. Mm-hmm. Not that it's onerous or not, but it's just sometimes we're doing work on some cases that we never had to do, but we're required to do it now, and it's taking time away from the more serious, important cases that we have to work on. And so, going back to, our prior discussions, that may be a situation where we have to, go to the county and say, we need more people, because in order to comply with what, the governor's office in Albany is requiring us to do, we need more people. Because if we don't have it, then we're going to start, cases may get dismissed, defendants may, not be held accountable for their crimes that they're committing.
Yeah, it's just time.
So, yeah.
And I guess hope for the future. Like, what do you hope? Is this something that you plan on doing for a while? You still like the job. You still, you don't have to if there's decisions
cool.
are still weighing. But
yeah,
I don't want you to announce your retirement.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Come back.
I know there's a number of people that would like me to do that.
Yeah.
I know that. There are. I'm in this for the foreseeable future, and when I say that, I mean that, obviously I have an end goal. That's to, at a point in time, retire, enjoy, when the kids are all through college and gone, and Natalie and I can settle down, and I can spend my winters in Jackson Hole, and she can be in Disney, and then in the summertime we'll come back here. That's my goal, right? She wants to move to Orlando. She wants to be what's the word for it? Just a staff member at Disney. She wants me to drive the tractors around and mow the grass.
There you go.
As my retirement job, and then I can shoot off to Jackson Hole and go skiing, or whenever I can. But that's the but that's a long ways away. You know?
So, but there's stuff you still obviously, hope to accomplish and reset up. And like you said, you've made some great strides in 15 years, and I'm sure, as with anybody that I think would be a high achiever, would want to continue to do that.
Right. Yes, I still enjoy the job. I love doing what I'm doing. Like I said, I put together a really strong office right now. I'm comfortable with walking out of the office for 2 hours and knowing that my staff is going to be able to handle the issues that come up. I'm comfortable with going to Whiteface and skiing for the day, knowing that if something comes up, my office can handle it. Would I like to see some development in some more programs here under my tenure? Yeah, I mean, I would like to see further development of the handling of drug cases, of the handling of our substance abuse, our addiction issues that we have here in the community. I really have, a couple years ago in 2016, there was an opportunity to run for county court judge. And I made a decision at that point in time that that's not what I want to do, for a multitude of reasons. And, we've certainly have, continued to move forward from 2016. And I foresee myself doing this job, certainly running for, election next year. 4 more years after that will, bring me to 20 years on the job. And at that point in time, I think I can look at
Evaluating.
Retiring,
No, that's great. And last question I have for you, which is just more, I'm just curious, where did the Alabama football love come from? Because if you don't post something with like skiing, I see these like, especially right now, because we're like you're gearing up. Roll Tide is coming. And
17 days, man.
I know, and I saw a couple posts, so I'm like, well, where you didn't go to Alabama, so
I did not.
Kind of like give us a quick take on like why Bama. You like a Bear Bryant guy, like going old school?
I am a Bear Bryant guy.
Okay.
I'm a huge Bear Bryant guy, and that really is where it came from. Mm-hmm. So, my father went to Michigan, ran track at Michigan, got recruited to go to Tennessee from Michigan. So they took him from Michigan, and he went to Tennessee, and so I grew up watching SEC football and Big Ten football.
Yeah.
My father liked to watch Michigan more so than he did SEC football. But I can remember sitting in, I had to have been like 6 or 7 years old. And, I grew up on Beekman Street. And so it was, the Kennedys, the Wylies, the Fitzpatricks, and the Kasperzaks. Those were, and we all grew up together. We all spent our summers out, not a lot of summers, but we spent summers out at Indian Bay.
Okay.
By Bluff Point. And so we were all really close-knit. And I can remember, 6 or 7 years old, I'm over at the Kasperzak's house. We're sitting in their living room, and it's the Iron Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just Bear Bryant's there. Was
there any Auburn fans?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure if like you were just like jabbing your buddy or something.
No.
Okay.
No, and so it was like, it was an incredible game. I can't remember what game it was, but, I just know I was 6 or 7 years old. And then from that point on, my dad's influence, we kind of were watching. I'd watch SEC football every Saturday, and then I'd watch a Big Ten game. College football is big to me. I love it.
Yeah.
But so that's where it kind of developed, and I mean, you like teams that win, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
successful teams. Yeah.
You like success, and I'm more of a like, I like to see success. I mean,
But I mean, you were a fan of them way before the Saban era, so it's not like somebody can accuse you of this. Like, last 10 years.
Yeah, way before the Saban era. But like the first game I went to was in 2000.
So you've been to Tuscaloosa.
I went to Tuscaloosa back in 2018, I think it was. I think it was Jalen's freshman year, and it was Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, there was a game I was going to go to. It had to be Alabama, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it was just an incredible experience from, Alexander flew in from California.
Nice.
Yeah. So we went to the game together. I'd been in this Alabama like Facebook group for a while, and so, I post, I'm coming to the game, and so all these people are like, well, we got to get together. We'll be at the game, blah, blah, blah. And there was this, one lady who said, "Well, we'll meet you at your hotel. We'll take you through Tuscaloosa. We'll show you, And I'm like, I just kind of want to,
Explore myself.
explore it with Alexander. But she was like, pretty insistent on it. So I'm like, okay, sure, that's cool. And so she shows up in this like 1980 like Cadillac or something. I don't know what it was.
Big whitewash tires.
Big. Oh yeah. And so she meets us. She kind of. I mean, like we've talked a lot. Social media wise, but never obviously had met. And so her husband's with her. And so Alexander and I get in the back of the car, and she turns around and she goes, "Here, it's something to drink," and it's in an Alabama Tervis cup, and I'm like, "What is it?" She goes, "I just take a drink of it," So I take a drink, and it was lemonade moonshine.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're.
Yeah, I mean it was good.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't drink.
I was gonna say a couple sips and you're on your way.
Yeah. But I had some kick to it.
Yeah.
But
funny.
So we spent that evening with her. The next day went to the got up in the morning, went to the breakfast right outside the stadium, hung out at the stadium the whole day, walked around campus. It was just quite an experience.
We past October we went down. My buddy went to Florida, so we went down to Gainesville and watched them play Auburn. And Florida won. This was last year. I know it was their homecoming game.
Yeah.
And same thing. I'd never been to. I've been to a couple. I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I've been to Notre Dame a couple times when I was a kid. But I've never seen SEC football. And Notre Dame is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite places on earth to go. But SEC football is crazy. I mean, it's just it's a religion. I mean, they're nuts.
Yeah. So when I was out at Marquette, went to a game in Madison, and I don't remember what game it was.
The Badgers.
The Badgers.
Okay.
Yeah. But I only went to one, and then freshman year when I was at Marquette. My father and Jack Pearl, best friends. Jack Pearl, all the Pearl kids have gone to Notre Dame. And so whatever weekend it was, Michigan's playing Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And I'm supposed to go from Marquette, from Milwaukee to South Bend for the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm supposed to go Friday, and I don't know. It's my freshman year at school.
Days of the week kind of merged together. Yeah,
they did, and so I ended up not going on Friday, and I'm getting these calls like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, I'm not sure it's gonna happen, And Saturday morning, I was just too hungover to go, so it was the game, the infamous game where Notre Dame's down by whatever, a point, 2 points, and it's the end of the game, and they're going obviously towards touchdown Jesus, and they kicked the winning field goal, to beat Michigan, and so it was a huge game, and of course I missed it. I watched it on television, but I missed that. But when I was at Creighton, I saw so many huge Nebraska games. We probably went to 3 to 4 home games the 3 years I was there.
Wow. Yeah.
Saw just, huge games. But, that SEC game was just crazy.
That's cool.
Just crazy.
Yeah. And so you're definitely college over NFL.
Definitely. Because with the NFL, I mean, I'm like, I have some teams. I grew up liking the Raiders. Kenny Stabler, from Alabama, going there.
Yeah.
A couple players, I like watching the teams that have the Bama kids on it.
Yeah. But your heart's still with college football?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for, a couple weeks. And actually, I think Clemson plays this weekend. Okay. So that'll be a good game. But
I'm assuming there's nobody in the stands, right? They're doing...
Yeah, I don't think they might. Well, I've been watching a couple games,
like 25% capacity or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. It's probably family and whatever, but they certainly don't have the student body going.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Or the public, general public.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I'm not sure what that is, but
Cool. Well, Andy, I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. And like I said, I think I had a lot to ask you just because I figure I see bits and pieces of your life, so it's kind of cool just to tie it all together and merge it. So, but yeah, no, I like I said, I thank you for all that you do and continue to do. I think you're someone that really, obviously growing up here and still living here and choosing to raise a family here. You're still, putting a lot of heart and soul back into the community. So, which is nice to see. And we're not too far out. I don't want to like jinx the people, but snow is on the way.
It is.
I can see I can feel the buildup of you. You're getting you're gonna have a little bounce in your step in a couple months. So
for sure. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah. So Andy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, that is episode 86 of the Galen Trombley Show. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GAELANTROMBLEY.